Yo, what's going on, guys? Sekapoko here, bringing you another 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross video. For this, we'll be going over gear guides and exactly what to expect while playing the game and how to start the game and exactly what gear is good for characters and what gear is not good for characters and what to do and not to do when just talking about gear. Because, you know, it's like 90% of the game, by the way, if you didn't know. So, guys, I'm going to be going over each individual character, talking about them for gear. It's not going to actually take that long because there's not that many characters that really revolve on different gear sets. But most of the time, it's just going to be one thing and one thing only. So that's basically it. Yeah, that's awesome. So guys, if you do need the overall guide for a lot more things, that's going to be in the description below. It's going to link to all the guides. So if you guys need that, of course, it'll be there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Alrighty guys, so we're going to be going over gear guide and talking about all the different things relating to gear. So first off, how do you get it? So Seka, I have no idea how to get SSR gear. Well, that's probably because you haven't done the appropriate steps. So first off, to acquire SSR gears, this is actually going to be a quest chain of blue quests that's going to be per town that is going to allow you to unlock SSR gear. Now, if you go into your missions tab, and you go to the towns section at the start here, you'll notice that on the first town, you'll have this affection rating here, and this affection rating will allow you to slowly unlock other things. You notice that I have all these other quests that are completed here. We have all these hard quests, all these extreme quests, etc., and they're gonna give you SSR medals, they're gonna give you gems, tickets, all that stuff as you level up each town. Once you get to max at each town, you get 30 gems. By the way, if you're looking to do pulls, and also you will get stuff to, you know, increase the level of characters and get more gear. So that is one thing I recommend you doing. Definitely max out your towns. But once you do so, there are different towns you have to max out for different gear sets. Town 1, if you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, Town 1 is going to be for attack gear. It's going to give you attack, experience, and penetration food. Town 2 is going to be defense gear, where you can get gold, defense, and patience food, or endurance, or resilience. There's a lot of things people are calling it right now. I don't know what's going to be called global, but that's where you get that. Next is Chapter 3 for HP gear, HP food, CP food, and regen food. Next up we have Chapter 4, which is critical gear, which is going to be PvP coins, crit rate gear, and crit damage food. Chapter 5 is going to be for crit resistance gear, ultimate gauge, crit resistance, and crit damage food. Chapter 6 is going to be for, oh, actually not crit damage food, crit damage resistance food, sorry, my bad. And Chapter 6 is recovery gear, which you can get recovery, lifesteal, and avoid food. So that's where you get all the different types of gear. The three main ones you're really going to want to focus on, no matter what, are going to be Chapters 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 3. Beyond that, gear is not really acquired in the other chapters unless you're trying to get other awakening materials, and I'll go over that in just a second. But essentially, if you're going to be grinding gear, you're going to be just grinding in those things. Alright, when going over gear and what to equip for your characters, you're going to make sure that each character is going to have a specific gear setup. Now, eventually, every character that you're going to have in your roster is going to want to have, oh, that's the wrong character, is going to want to have a full set of an SSR set, and this will allow you to, you know, just be total badass and do tons of damage. This the UR stuff comes much later, so ignore that. But you're basically gonna have a full SSR set. Let me see if I can find a character with an SSR set so I can show. I think Merlin. This is eventually the end spot where you want to be, but at the start of the game, there's literally no reason for you to go the extra mile and do both sides. You're actually not going to want to have both sides SSR. At the start of the game, you're going to want to have your left-hand side with SSR gear and your right-hand side with common gear. Do not go to rare unless you are going to be farming like millions and millions of gold. Common gear, trust. Now, hey, Seka, common gear, isn't that the worst rarity? Yes, but it's worth it. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and look at this character's stats with a full SSR set. You'll notice on this character I have attack and defense on this character, and on this side I have 13.2% attack. This is going to have 13.6% defense, and it's going to have 14.3% HP. Okay, so now that I put this on Merlin on, you'll notice I have on this one, I have 12.2% attack, 14% defense, and 13% HP. You notice how far my stats went down? They went down significantly. You can see I lost about, I think it was like 500 attack or so. I lost a decent amount of defense, and I lost a decent amount of HP. But if you're looking at these characters in their raw form, I'm gonna go ahead and take this character completely off of gear here. This is just SSR equipment from the base form. You'll notice that this right-hand side here, I dropped down to about 8,000 on my minimum, and 5,600 defense and 69,000 HP. This is what you get from just a raw gear set. Now watch what happens. I'm gonna go ahead and take this side here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just switch out some of this stuff with common gear. So this one here, this is a 261 attack here, and I'm just gonna put it on this one ring here. This has 13.7% attack. Let's see what happens when I put this on here. I went up to 8,953 attack. You'll notice that from a just base SSR ring, this is a different one by the way, I went up a significant amount. So I went from 8,100 or so all the way up to 8,000, I think it was 900, let me check. 8,900. So it's a significant attack jump that you get by getting these substat rolls right here. This 13.7% attack, this gives you a huge significant stat bump. Now to get that last little max min, of course he's going to need to be SSR gear, but the thing about SSR gear and all kind of gear in the game, the left hand side gear is going to have significantly more stats than the right hand side gear. So if I wanted to max out a character fully, I would of course get them full SSR gear, but the thing is you're only going to have so many blue SSR crystals for upgrading gear throughout the game, and you're not going to get a ton of these at the start of the game. You're actually going to have to wait a while to get a bunch. And you'll notice over here, this has 6,154 HP. And if I go over to this one has 2,751 HP. So on the left-hand side, the main stat over here is gonna be much higher than the main stat over here. So that's why everybody focuses on the left-hand side for SSR gear and the right-hand side for common. Because common gear is extremely cheap to build out. And if you go to common gear for any of these attack rolls, you can actually use gold to reroll for any of these substats. So gold is actually a much easier quantity to get. You cannot get anvils at the start of the game, to my knowledge, but gold is a hugely easier quantity of stuff to get or at the start of the game. And if you were to reroll substats on this, let me see if we can find it. Let me get some SSR gear on Merlin real quick. If I was to reroll any of these substats here, it costs gems. It does not cost gold anymore. It will actually cost gems. So that's why to get substats on characters, it's a lot easier to go with a common on the right hand side and an SSR on the left hand side, because you're only going to have to reroll one side of your gear with either gems or whatnot, or just maxing it out on the max stats. And the right hand side, you're actually going to focus on just rerolling for the common substats. Now if you were to do so, you'll notice that some of the gear I have in here is actually rare, and the difference between common and rare gear, you notice that this one has about 260 attack versus the max at 634 attack. So I get about 300 attack or so, probably at plus 5-star, 5+. I'll go over how that works in a second. Versus this 128. So you kind of can see that you get about double the amount of stats on common, rare gear than you do common. And that's why people do rare gear sometimes, because they want to get a little bit extra stats so they have a little bit more longevity on that gear. It makes sense. It's totally viable to do, but it costs significantly more money. If you look at the reroll for this one, this is actually going to be 10,000 gold per, and the upgrades to upgrade each level cost significantly more too. So rare gear is exceedingly more expensive in gold than common gear. And if you're going to bust out a lot of gear very quickly and you just want replaceable gear very fast, so that you can actually start working on the SSR gear and start working on more SSR gear, common gear is much better. And I would not focus on rare gear as much, because then you can actually focus all your gold and your resources on your left-hand side gear, and then you can just focus on right-hand side gear with common gear. That is probably the best strategy to do. I did that at the start of the game, but it's tricky to know what to spend gold on and what not to spend gold on. So I was experimenting a lot just to like figure out what the best strategy was. And what I found was common gear is much better way to go. So definitely don't skip out on the common gear. Thanks for the raid boss invite. All right. So how do you break up the gear, and what do you get in each spot? Okay, so the types of gear you want to build a set of 4 attack gear and 2 defense gear. For every character in the game, I would say most of them are going to go with an attack and defense build. Some characters in the game are going with an HP and defense skill, and very rare you have these characters go with like HP and crit damage, or attack and crit damage, or like crit resistance and all that crap. But those are going to be very specific to very niche units that only need them for certain things, and most of the time it's just attack and defense or HP and defense. It's very simple. So attack and defense gear will boost your entire attack percentage by 20%, and defense gear will boost your entire defense by 20%. They are split up so that you need a set bonus of 4 attack pieces in order to get yourself the 20% attack bonus, and a set of 2 to get yourself a 20% defense bonus. You can also, for some characters like Green Griamore, who's by the way so fucking annoying on launch. If you're looking for one of the most annoying PvP characters and you just want to have that big Kex character on launch and you want to go bitch and just want to be super annoying on the launch of the game, Green Griamore, do it, yeah. And you can build him with all defense gear. Oh my god, that's so annoying to fight. You have no idea. Green Griamore, oh jeez. It doesn't last very long, and nor is it very good, and the PvP fights take forever, but oh my god, this is annoying. So Green Grimoire's passive, you didn't know, he gets attack based off his defense, so you can go triple defense on him. So you get lots of attack because you have lots of defense, and no one does damage to you because they have no way of penetrating you, so he's a dick. he's a total dick. So Green Griamore, total dick character. He's one of those characters you can go defense on, and that is a viable thing to do. But most of the time, again, as I said, attack and defense. Dude, what the fuck in these raid invites? Oh my god, dude, what do you mean? They just, oh my god, they don't stop. They just don't stop, bro. All right, you'll notice that placement of the gear has changed per character, and some characters you notice I have a defense on the top row, and other characters I have attack on the top row, other characters that have defense on the right-hand side, left-hand side. That doesn't matter too much. The only times where the placement of the gear actually matters, because every set of gear has the same amount of maximum substats, is if you are going to have a, hold on. So for gear positioning, sometimes it does matter, but it's very rare. So you'll notice that the defense gear that I have on the top here, the reason this defense gear is on the top is this is actually a bond set, and I was considering building a crit set at one point that was at the top. And what you do is you would put both of the critical pieces that you're going to be doing at the top here, so you can switch out the defense set for an attack set. Now, it doesn't really matter where those are positioned too much, but it, you know, if you do want everything correct here, I guess it kind of matters. A lot of people, what they do is they put the critical, if they want to switch out for a critical damage set, they put the critical damage in the middle or the bottom. I kind of did that with Green Jericho, where she can either go with attack and defense or attack and crit damage. And with Jericho, you can go with a lot of different routes for where you want to place the crit damage. But essentially, you want to be able to switch out the crit damage a little bit more. So if you ever needed defense, you could actually like throw in, say, I wanted to do defense here, and that would be a good way to go. Yeah, because I have all this extra defense, if I have an extra defense piece, if I want to put it in here, I can actually easily sub this out, and I'll still have this top roll UR gear for Jericho. And then I won't have to switch out my like multiple sets of gear for where it's really not super important. And now I can say, hey, if I wanted to add this in, great. I have a defense set, boom, and boom. And now Jericho is now magically attack and defense versus attack and crit damage. So that's why I have this in the bottom row. A lot of people tend to put the defense or critical gear in the middle section. I could do that too, but as you can see, it doesn't really matter too much where you put it, as long as you're, you know, really focusing on the right things. This one I just didn't fully roll out, and I didn't really feel like doing it, and I was like, you know what, it's fine like this. Now, for each character, when you're looking at gear, there's going to be different substats for sections. Now, the top row, the number one thing you want to get is attack. The possibilities that you can get are attack, crit chance, crit damage, as well as penetration, or I don't know what's going to be calling loss, but like basically fixed damage. But attack is the primary thing you want to get on the top row for your substats. You notice that this is the attack here. I have 10% attack. On very rare characters like Jericho, you can go crit damage, but most of the time, we're talking 99% of the time, you're going to be going with just raw attack. The reason Jericho is better with crit damage is kind of a longer story, and I'll go over that later. But essentially, attack is what you want to do. Actually, yeah, I'll go over it now. I'll go down. So certain characters, every character in the game has abilities that really scale off other abilities. You'll know if you've heard about it in the past. Maybe Blue Meliodas scales very well off penetration damage, which is fixed damage, and some other characters have abilities that make them scale very well off crit. Now, Jericho is a character that has infinitely scaling crit and will always crit after a certain point. And her ultimate ability actually has the ability to do double critical damage. So because of that, crit damage that you have on your character is actually doubled. So instead of having 228% critical damage, she actually has 456% on her ultimate ability. So her ultimate ability hits significantly harder than normal because she has that. So critical damage is good on certain characters, but most of the time you're going to want defense because survivability is very key. If you ever notice that your character is getting hit a lot harder than normal, it's because defense is not high enough. But Jericho is one of those few characters where crit damage is more important than defense on the times where you're going to use Jericho, I should say. All right. The middle roles. On the middle roles you hear, we want to actually prefer on defense stats. Pretty much across the board, every single character in the game, except for 2, are going to go with defense stats on the middle row. The 2 characters that are different are going to be Valenti, which is an OC character or original character in the game, and the second character is going to be Blue Matrona Deanne, who goes with crit resistance. But significantly else, everybody else is going to be going with defense. On the bottom row, everybody in the game is going HP. There's almost no reason to go outside of HP, except for Green Jericho, which is kind of an asterisk. You could potentially go a mixture of HP and lifesteal. It's really up to you on what you think is best. I am going in a mixture of HP and lifesteal specifically for the boss that we're doing right now. But for most of people, we're talking 99% of the time, you're going with HP rolls, and that's the priority. Significantly better to go with HP rolls versus lifesteal rolls in general, because the way auto targeting works is that the boss is going to target the character with the lowest amount of HP. So Jericho, though, does significant amounts of damage, and because she does significant amounts of damage, she can lifesteal a lot back. So that is awesome. Otherwise, that's basically what you do for substats on your characters. That's why you go with common gear on the right-hand side and SSR gear on the left-hand side. By the way, guys, if you're wondering what the band counter is and why it appeared midway through the video, it's the amount of people that said I need to clean my room. Don't at me. All right, guys. So that's going to be doing it for the gear guide here. If you want to know about my room, no, I'm not fucking cleaning it. I'm busy. We can't clean it in general anyways right now because we're remodeling the bedroom and all that shit. So if you want to ask about it, that's the reason. If you want to comment on it, I'm just going to not answer any of your questions ever again. But we're going to go ahead and going over the rest of the guides here. If you want to go back to the original guide, make sure that you are clicking the link in the description below to go back to the original guide, and it'll give you all the other sub-guides. If you want this guide specifically, that it's going to be on Reddit, I will have that in the link in the description below, so you'll have that for all players. But again, my name is Sekapoko. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, like and subscribe, all the fun stuff. And you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.